For our session, now we have as our keynote speaker the leader of the Congress Party and the chairperson of the United Progressive Alliance, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi. This session will be moderated by Mr. V. Sanghvi, the editorial director of the Hindustan Times, and I request him to introduce our distinguished speaker. May I remind you that there will be a brief question and answer session for which slips have been placed in your folders. Alternatively, you might like to use the microphones that have been provided. Mr. Sanghvi.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning again. If you could please settle down, we're about to begin. Thank you. It says on the program that I'm supposed to introduce the next speaker, but I won't waste your time, mine or hers, by bothering to tell you anything about her. Ladies and gentlemen, Sonia Gandhi. The format for this session is roughly similar to the Prime Minister's. Mrs. Gandhi will make a speech, and then those of you who were here last year will remember that after she'd made her speech, we put her on the spot and asked her to answer some questions. This time we've given her advance notice. She will answer 2 or 3 questions. Mrs. Gandhi.
Srimati Shobna Bhartiya, Shri V. Sanghvi, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Hindustan Times has been over several decades now a daily habit for lakhs of readers. With this leadership initiative, it has also become an instrument for stimulating thought and reflection outside its columns. This is an occasion for many of us to step back from the preoccupations of our daily lives and reflect on larger and more crucial issues. We met, I think, exactly or almost exactly a year ago to discuss India and South Asia. And I bet none of you expected me to be here today as part of the establishment rather than the opposition. Today we assemble to look at India and the world. The two, of course, are interlinked. India has many concerns that are real and that cannot be wished away. Even so, India can, must, and I am sure will take the lead to build more enduring political and economic partnership with her neighbors. This is an essential prerequisite for an India occupying its rightful place on the world stage. Enormous, defining and fundamental changes are taking place in the world with astonishing rapidity. One might ask, has it not always been so? In living memory in the life of India as a new and independent nation state, our predecessors have had to deal with situations which demanded of them high statesmanship and courage. Nehru, Shastri, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi all faced the world where India's place was far from secure and its interests were constantly under assault. They steered our nation through the hostility of a bipolar world and threats and wars in our neighborhood. The challenges we face now are, of course, of a different kind. The old conflicts between nation states and between blocs of nation states have yielded to the growing menace of terrorism. This is an enemy where the line between state and non-state actors is sometimes blurred. This is an enemy that recognizes no borders and has no identifiable geographical limitations. At the same time, the familiar world order of the second half of the 20th century has given place to a disturbing imbalance for which traditional institutional mechanisms, such as the United Nations, appear to be ill-prepared and ill-suited. Technological advances spectacular, but the benefits are unevenly distributed, both within and among nations. What is then India's place in such a world in the coming years? Obviously, that place has to be based on the tripod of democracy, diversity, and development that has sustained our nation and our people this past decades. India's external strength depends on her internal cohesiveness. The fulfillment of India's global ambitions rests on the edifice of domestic harmony. If India wants to be seen as being exclusive in the world, as she indeed is, then she has to be inclusive at home. Our nationalism has to be secular, pluralistic, and liberal, as bequeathed to us by Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore, and Jawaharlal Nehru. We cannot manifest vigor and independence in our relationship with other nations or exercise influence in the world if we are not strong and cohesive at home. The remarkable resilience of our democracy, vividly displayed this past few months, gives us a voice that is heard and respected throughout the world. And speaking of resilience, I am glad to see that voter turnout in the world's most powerful democracy is at last comparable to the turnout in the world's most populous democracy. Our many diversities are cemented by secularism and the long tradition of tolerance. This makes us an example for a world where nations are torn apart by sectarian violence and conflicts ignited by religious and ethnic differences. Our sustained commitment to development has yielded impressive results, even though we have much more to accomplish. Our economic and social transformation over the past half-centuries cannot be denied. We are a democratic nation of 1 billion people living harmoniously in a pluralistic society. We constitute one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Our credential can hardly be doubted. Yet, I find it difficult to comprehend that the world is still treated to a regime of groupings based on the Second World War's outcome of victory and defeat. The UN Security Council, as now constituted, for instance, is not just unrepresentative, it is unintelligent. A global role brings with it global responsibilities. Traditionally, we have always advocated the cause of multilateralism in world affairs. We have always championed the strengthening of the United Nations. However, new concerns have emerged. We must take note of them seriously and fashion effective and credible responses in areas like climate change, environment, child labor, and HIV/AIDS. And as we look ahead, what will drive India's relationship with the world? India's potential for what has come to be broadly called outsourcing is imparting a whole new dimension to our global links. New opportunities are opening up. As the world ages, for instance, India's capacity for providing health services, both in modern and traditional medicine, is being recognized. International media organizations are beginning to use India as their base. India has emerged as the preferred destination for research and development and for an expanding range of services. Our hard work, the technological skills of our young women and men, our ability to talk to the world in its preferred languages, both alphabetic and binary, and the sheer innate enterprise of our people have given us a singular opportunity that will, I believe, I know, be the driving force of our role in the world. In addition, there are other factors that would determine the nature and depth of our interaction. First, quite clearly, the quest for energy security will be paramount. Even as we intensify oil and gas exploration efforts at home, we will need to develop other sources of supply to meet our growing demand. India has emerged as a major investor in different countries like Russia, Sudan, Vietnam, and Myanmar, and West Africa, a region that has been somewhat peripheral to India's worldview, has emerged as being important for us. Central Asia offers growing possibilities, and opportunities abound in our own region itself. Second, Indian companies will expand their global presence. This is already happening, not only in terms of our exports, but more importantly, in terms of investments as well. There was a time when our presence was largely culinary. Some years back, while referring to the perceived threat of racial conflict, the Economist, I believe, wrote that Britain would not be drowned in rivers of blood, but in oceans of curry. Today, besides these oceans of delicious, mouth-watering curries, we have a growing number of Indian firms in diverse areas like IT, pharmaceutical, textiles, petrochemicals, steel and engineering, proudly planting their flags all over the world. As we seek and receive increased foreign investment, our vibrant private and public sector will also emerge as major investors abroad. Third, India will also become a much sought-after provider of development assistance. Here again, on the one hand, we will be the recipient of foreign aid in niche areas, although we now repay much more than what we receive. But on the other hand, we will also be a supplier of both technical and financial assistance. Thus far, we have focused largely on countries in our immediate neighborhood, but there is no question that as India grows and builds its economic capability, it will look at many other countries as well. Fourth, the common perception that India will be just the services capital of the world will change as it begins to revitalize her vast manufacturing industry. And as and when the advanced countries reduce their huge farm subsidies, Indian farmers will also begin to make their presence felt in global markets. A country that was written off as a basket case 4 decades ago now has the capacity to feed the world thanks largely to the vision and determination of Indira Gandhi. Finally, India will carve out a new and creative relationship with people of Indian origin living overseas. So many of them, as you all know, have distinguished themselves in different fields. Some of them have even been elected presidents and prime ministers. And just a few days ago, an Indian American was elected to the US House of Representatives. And now, listen carefully. The ancestors of Bharat Jagdeo, the president of Guyana, hailed from guess where? Village Thakuren Kapurwa in my old constituency Amethi, in district Raebareli. Indian-born scientists and technologists, authors and doctors are celebrated. But we also have around 3 million workers in West Asia who are sending home $6 to $7 billion of their savings annually. There can be no doubt that the skills and expertise of the Indian community abroad is waiting to be harnessed to accelerate our own development and also to forge new friendships for us across the globe. So far, I have focused largely on economics, trade and investment. But India has a pivotal role to play in the global fight against terrorism, about which I spoke a little while ago. It will also be central to any global effort to contain the threat posed by the spread of nuclear, chemical and biological weapons. Terrorism cannot and should not, must not be dealt with in a selective and segmented manner within the framework of individual nations and their priorities. And the approach that says the terrorism I face is of higher priority than the terrorism you face has dangerous implications for global stability and security. India still faces numerous development challenges. How successfully we address these challenges in basic areas like literacy, education, health and infrastructure, for example, depends on ourselves and ourselves alone. But economic integration with the world in a manner determined by us will undoubtedly help the economy expand even faster. This is essential for generating more jobs and eliminating mass poverty. And as we look at India and the world, let us not ever, even for a moment, overlook this reality. While, of course, we celebrate our achievements, let us not ever forget that many tasks await our focused attention, particularly in rural India, where 2 out of every 3 of our countrymen and women live and work. India's interaction and integration with the world must always keep these basics in mind so that all Indians have equality of opportunity and live a life of dignity and fulfillment. And in conclusion, let me emphasize that India has always had a universal perspective. That perspective has been mutually rewarding and enriching. Many more opportunities await us. Many more horizons beckon. I have absolutely no doubt that we will move forward with self-confidence, knowing that ultimately it is not just our potential, but more importantly, our performance that will earn us the position we desire and we deserve. Thank you.
we'll do the questions and answers sitting down this time, I think. I know last time we were all very reverential and respectful of the Prime Minister and only asked questions about his speech, but I think we can be a little naughty. If you want to ask her domestic political questions, don't stop. Chinmay Gharekhan. So I think we have to give you a microphone, Ms. Gharekhan, if we can. If you stand up, sir. This lady there giving you a microphone.
Thank you. If I may, Mrs. Gandhi, I wonder whether you would yourself have taken the breath that you referred to at the beginning of your speech this morning. Nearly 6 months have gone by since your historic statement really in which you renounced the office to which you were rightfully entitled. That renunciation went down, of course, greatly with our own people and also across the world. And you were widely admired and appreciated for that. I wonder if you have anything to share with us about what went on in your mind at that time. Because since that statement, you have not made any comments about the events of those 2 historic days. So I wonder whether you would like to share with us anything at all on what went on through your mind at the time.
Well, I have stated before that my aim had never been that of occupying the prime ministerial chair. My aim had always been that of strengthening the Congress party and of, in so doing, defeating the anti-secular forces which were in government. Now, if I were to speak to you about what went through my mind in those few days or hours, I think I would have to fill a couple of chapters of a book. And therefore, I think you'll have to wait for that book.
One quick question. Had you always made up your mind, or was it something you decided after the election?
Well, I had always decided, always thought that I would never occupy that chair.
Really? Right from the beginning?
Right from the beginning. You know, but the flesh sometimes
is weak.
is weak.
All right, let's do. Okay. Okay, Pankaj Vora, I hope this is a good, hard domestic political question. Yeah. Hang on, Pankaj, maybe we can get you a microphone.
Many people consider you to be the power behind the throne. Do you agree with the assumption?
Oh, good.
Now,
a tough question finally.
When I was offered, I was elected to occupy that very chair of power, position of power. Why would I want to be the power behind the throne? Did I get the right, question?
No, you're absolutely right. But the answer to that would be.
No, I think this is it's not something which has happened just now. The story that I was behind the power behind the throne dates back to the days of when Rajiv Gandhi was the prime minister, if you recollect. I was at that time I was supposed to have sacked ministers, brought in new ones, decided on who the prime minister should meet and not to meet. So I'm quite used to it.
Okay. Do you want to add something to that, or should we?
No.
So you're not the power behind.
I'm not the power behind the throne. I do not wish to be the power behind the throne.
But do you look at government files? Do you make those kind of decisions?
No, I don't look at government files.
You don't?
I don't take government decisions. We have a common minimum program. We have, first of all, a manifesto, a Congress Party manifesto. We have then a common minimum program, which includes portions of our manifesto and programs of other political parties who are in coalition with us. So government policy and programs are really based on that document, on those documents. So there is nothing really major that needs to be discussed. And if ever there is anything, one can always do so. We do meet with the Prime Minister, a few of us, from the party on a weekly basis, just to exchange notes, to have, to have a discussion on what is going on.
Would you go and see him, or would he come and see you?
No, I would never. I would never allow him to come and see me. I always go and see him.
All right.
Yes, I think that's the right way.
All right.
That's the way.
I think it's an honest answer. Thank you.
Madam
Sorry.
Gandhi, we are all in a betting mood today. Now, if HT were to do an opinion poll and ask for the star of India, today's India, I bet, result is clear, you probably definitely will win. Will you also put your bet on this?
I can't hear the question.
It says if there was to be an opinion poll on who the star of India would be, you would win.
Are you also wanting to put a bet on this?
I wouldn't want to be the star of India.
Okay, second bet.
I would want to be just me, myself.
All right. Okay, thanks. Feroz, we need a microphone for you.
Ma'am, you already know my question, but for the benefit of everybody else,
It's just
as the convener of the UPA, how do you see yourself dealing with the conflicts of coalition politics, the issues from the left, this tug of war that goes on when the government makes an announcement? How do you see that going forward? As far as the business community is concerned, it concerns us to see this rhetoric around it. And what do you think your strategy will be?
I think the business community, no one need worry terribly. The business community need not worry at all. We have a coalition government. We are, our coalition partners are valued allies. When we worked on the common minimum program, they were all consulted, and that document represents really programs and policies which they wanted to be included in it. And I think, of course, you also mentioned the left. They do speak out, and I believe it is the right of any coalition partner, if and when he feels that he wants to state something, that he wants to make a point, it's his right to speak. And we sit down in a very civil fashion, we discuss issues, and then we come to certain agreement or understanding. I would like, of course, for us in the Congress Party, this is a new experiment, a new experience at the center. Of course, as you know, we have coalition we have worked in coalition at the state level, but it is really the first time that we work in a coalition framework with at the center. So there are bound to be hiccups, so we have to learn. But I don't think we have done that badly. It's only 6 months. There hasn't been any major hassle. And we tend to have a very short memory. But if you were to think of the previous government, of the problems, of the tamashas which were going on at that time, every now and then, interlocutors, so-called, were rushed to the south of India or to the northeast to pacify one coalition partner or another. So I think if you compare our position to that position, we have not done badly at all. And I can assure you, we will continue to work together. So you need not worry.
Gentlemen, yeah.
Ms. Gandhi, my name's Scott Bayman, President and CEO for GE in India. Now that President Bush has been reelected, what suggestions would you have for the United States to take the relationship with India forward?
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate President Bush. India has worked with him now for the last 4 years, with President Bush and his administration. India will continue to work with President Bush and his administration. And that's all really I have to say. Yes, we would like him to have concern for our security concern. But I mean, these are matters which will be discussed at the government level.
Okay.
We have developed a good rapport, a good relationship with the United States, and we absolutely are going to work to maintain it, sustain it, and even improve it.
Imran Khan?
Ms. Gandhi, you spoke about terrorism. Do you make a distinction between a freedom struggle and terrorism?
No, it's a tough one. You are referring to our eternal problem. Are you? Are you? Look, we are working well vis-a-vis that eternal problem, which I hope sincerely it will not remain eternal. As you know, the Congress Party has been, from the beginning, encouraging the previous government to initiate a dialogue with Pakistan. Eventually, while earlier they were not keen to do so, eventually they listened to us and they initiated a dialogue. That dialogue is continuing under our government. When we ourselves were asking the previous government to initiate a dialogue, then we are going to see to it that that continues and that we work towards finding a solution to our problem.
Okay. All right. S.K. Singh? S.K. Singh, microphone.
Madam, you mentioned your constituency. I know it is in UP. I am also a UP man. You are the Congress president. How do you see the Congress presence and role and situation in our province, in our state? I find it rather dismal.
I agree with you. I find it dismal as well.
But something you can do and I can't. That is what my question is.
You're quite right. You're quite right. Well, I have been disappointed with our situation, the situation of the Congress Party in Uttar Pradesh. And I must say, I do think, I have thought about it, and I think about it almost day and night on what to do, what do I do, what can we do to change the situation in Uttar Pradesh, which is so vital to the Congress Party. Well, I think you'll see something happening perhaps tomorrow or the day after. Maybe even this evening, I think within the next 2 days. And hopefully things will start picking up in Uttar Pradesh.
That means only one thing. You're about to appoint somebody. Yeah? Are you? Are you going to change things in UP? Are you going to make new appointments? Is that what you're hinting at?
I am planning to do so, yes.
Yeah? So we expect the announcement what? Next couple of days?
Yes, definitely.
All right, okay.
Madam.
We've got a major political statement out of her. Yeah, go on. Sir. Yeah.
Madam, my name is D.R. Karthikeyan. You are good enough to refer to the fact that 2/3 of India lives in its villages.
Yes.
2/3 of India population lives in its villages. And you are also good enough to refer to the fact that from a food importing country at the time of independence, now our production is enormous. We are in a position to export. But in recent years, the condition of rural India, particularly the farmers, has become quite pathetic. In the last couple of years, thousands of farmers were almost forced to commit suicide. And something should be done to rural India, particularly the condition of farmers who have been able to feed 103 crores of people and also produce surplus. And related to the problem is also the water. Water is going to be the biggest constraint on development. And many parts of India suffered from water scarcity in the last couple of years more than ever before. And even a metro city was planning to evacuate its population. On these two issues, will your government take time-bound steps to solve these very serious problems?
Yes, you have pointed to two most serious problems. In fact, the farmers have had a very raw deal during the previous government. And as you might have followed, the work that the Prime Minister, what the Prime Minister has done. In fact, as soon as he became the Prime Minister, one of the first action he took was to look at the problems faced by the farmers and to allocate a huge amount of money for the farmers to strengthen the agricultural sector. The other issue, as well as in the water, in the sphere of water, I'm sure you are aware that the Prime Minister has set up groups of ministers to look specifically on how to go about, on how to work to ensure that the water problem reduces and that everyone, within a certain specific period of time, every village in India will have water.
Okay. I said 3 questions. I think probably squeeze a couple more in. Yeah, very quickly, sir, because we're out of time. Yeah.
My name is Kamar Khalid Yunus, and I'm an MP from Pakistan. And my question is that South Africa has a tradition of keeping and grooming inherited politics. So do you have a soft corner for Rahul and Priyanka?
What? Do I have a soft corner? Well, they are my son and daughter, obviously. I have a soft corner for them.
All right. Okay, somebody in fact asked me if they wanted to ask a question. Somebody called Abhishek Mishra. Are you in the audience, Mr. Mishra? Yeah, can we give him a microphone, please?
But I know what you mean.
Let's get as many questions.
What you want to mean.
Let's get as many questions. Mr. Mishra.
Abhishek Mishra from Unitech. Many of us
Louder, Abhishek. Yeah.
Many of us expected Mr. Rahul Gandhi to get a party post. Do you plan to do that?
Where is it?
Many people expected Rahul Gandhi to get a party post. Is that going to happen? The same question really asked more directly.
Well, no. That's not.
Not wait for 2 days.
And will Ms. Priyanka Gandhi join politics soon?
Well, Rahul, my son Rahul, is actually, as you all know, a member of parliament. He is now concentrating in looking after his constituency, my old constituency, his constituency now. And then let us see. I think he has to gain some experience, both at looking after his constituency and also of the organization of the Congress Party.
So the change you're going to announce in UP in the next 2 days has nothing to do with them?
No.
I think that's what he asked, yeah. Okay, and Priyanka, you haven't answered that one.
Priyanka is a wife and the mother of 2 very small children, and at the moment she is fully concentrating on her family, and she is not intending to participate actively in politics.
Okay, I think I can take one more question. Omar has been putting his hand up from the beginning, so. Can we give Omar a mic here? Yeah, you can shout it out. I'll repeat it for the audience. Yeah.
My question is in 2 parts, basically. Okay, thanks. One on a personal level and one on an official level. Personally, I think I can speak for a lot of us here. Over the years, we have been silent admirers of the way in which you have evolved, both as a leader and as a person. The way in which you have become far more forthcoming, far more open. I remember last year I tried desperately to get in a question, and we silently from the stage said nothing doing. And today you have answered perhaps one of the most difficult questions which Mr. Imran Khan posed to you. So is there a lesson that some of us who are facing the brunt of these sort of questions once in a while, is there a lesson we can learn? How did this transformation come about? I mean, was there any one thing that brought you to the position that you're in now personally, wherein you're so much more open, so much more comfortable in a scenario like this? That's the personal one. Officially, as you said right in the beginning, nobody expected you to be part of the ruling establishment at this point last year, but you are. So obviously something in the blueprint for partnership and growth that the NDA had was wrong, and the people didn't appreciate. So what is it in your blueprint for the UPA, for partnership and growth, that is different from theirs? And how do you plan to go about achieving that?
Well, first of all, I would say that the difference between the NDA and the United Progressive Alliance came alive, was vividly displayed during our election campaign. Their slogan was India Shining. Ours was Aam Aadmi ke liye, Congress Party, Aam Aadmi ke saath hai. So I think that explains it all, to my mind. Besides, we are for a secular India, we are for a pluralistic India, we are for a liberal India. And as regard to your other question, the personal question, I think, well, I've learned from all of you, including you.
Okay, I think that's actually 10 minutes past our allotted time, and we're going to go behind schedule. Thank you, Mrs. Gandhi. I know many people have questions. Again, I've got to do a vote of thanks. What can I say except that Mrs. Gandhi is absolutely right. When she was here a year ago, I think any of us, myself included, thought she would be back a year later as part of the ruling coalition. And I'll tell you a secret, even as well as you spoke last year, none of us would have imagined you'd be so brilliant today. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Veer is always generous with his compliments.
I think Shobna Bharti will give you a memento, Ms. Gandhi, before we end.